The Brooklyn Vegan Show is a podcast about music brought to you by the music blog and online record store Brooklyn Vegan. Make sure to subscribe to hear all of our upcoming episodes featuring interviews with musicians and more, and find us 24/7 at brooklynvegan.com, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Hey, welcome to the new episode of the Brooklyn Vegan Show. I'm Brooklyn Vegan editor Andrew Sacker, and today's episode is a joint conversation with both Mike Park and Catbite in celebration of their new split 7-inch, which is the second installment of Bad Time Records' Wavebreaker series. We've actually teamed up with Mike Park, Catbite, and Bad Time Records on an electric blue vinyl variant of the split, limited to just 100 copies and available exclusively in the online Brooklyn Vegan store, so go pick that up while it lasts. So if you're unfamiliar, Mike Park is an absolute veteran of ska, punk, indie rock, DIY, and more. He was in the classic bands Skankin Pickle, the Chinkees, the Bruce Lee Band. He's run Asian Man Records for over 25 years. If you're into underground rock of any kind, Mike Park is probably a household name, or should be. Meanwhile, Catbite comes from the new generation of ska. They kind of pull from two-tone, from trad ska, from power pop, from garage rock. And they're great, and they and Mike Park make a really good pair, and they've collaborated in the past, and it's awesome that they've got this new split together, which has 2 songs by each artist. Mike Park, one of his songs features Karina from the Dancehall Crashers, and Catbite's 2 songs, one was written by Mike Park, and one was a Neon Trees cover. We talk a lot about that split in this conversation, and we also talk about the current ska scene, some ska history, why ska still gets a little bit of a bad rep, and why it really shouldn't. And we also talk about the joy of a live ska show, and just live shows being back in general, and Catbite's upcoming tour dates. And we talk a little bit about the recent divisive AltPress article on the ska punk band The Interrupters. It was a really fun chat, and here it is. All right, so here we are. We got Mike Park, Tim and Brittany from Catbite. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, what's up, Andrew? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, yeah. So we should have a really fun conversation. We got Wavebreaker 2 on the way, a new split from Catbite and Mike Park. First, Tim, Brittany, I saw on social media that you just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of Nice One.
Yeah, it kind of snuck up on us. Actually, like the only reason I thought about it was this release, and I'm like, oh, this is like around the same time as our record last year, and then so initially we were going to be releasing or announcing this on this a day short of our 1-year anniversary of Nice One, but we pushed it back, and which kind of gave us some room to celebrate Nice One. It's 1-year anniversary. But yeah, time flies.
Yeah. And it's it's a totally different world too. I mean, you've basically been on tour since the record came out. I mean, you were on our show right before, and I think that was like a little bit before live music was sort of right.
Yeah, that was that was one of the first times we performed in front of people since 2020 was on the Vans show with you. It was cool. It was weird. It was really fun though.
That was really fun, yeah.
So what's it been like finally playing for audiences again?
It feels really good. It just is it makes me really happy to be back in front of audiences and seeing people. Sorry. Too loud for you?
I mean, you just went from 0 to 1,000. I mean, yeah. We really like audiences here. So I feel it.
It feels really good, and seeing people having a good time and coming to shows again. I don't know. It just makes you not take it for granted.
Yeah, and it's definitely fair to say that before COVID hit, we didn't really have that many fans, I guess. It didn't seem like, we were a band that has fans. We would play some cool shows, opening for some bigger bands, and we never had played a headline show ever. And then with our record release show on the day that our record came out, it was to a sold out crowd, which was I just like couldn't believe it. And like this whole year has just been the same thing. Every time we play a show and people come up and are singing our lyrics back to us, it's something that neither me or Britt or the rest of our band has
I guess it's
ever
still,
experienced.
I'm still, every time I see like people singing, you know, the songs back with us, like I'm always like, people are actually listening.
Yeah.
People are actually liking the music.
Yeah, even just like not even just singing, but like just like actively moving around to us. It's just like, and like dancing and like, you know, giving us their full attention. It's great. And I don't know if it's like the combination of people being deprived from shows and also just like, you know, obviously a lot more people are listening to our music and like, and it's just, it shows, and it's just great all around.
Yeah, really good.
We're very stoked.
Yeah, totally. Mike, have you seen Catbite yet?
I've not. They have not been out on the West Coast yet.
Mm-mm.
Have you played anything yet since the pandemic? I tried to check, but I wasn't sure.
I have not. I have a love-hate relationship with performing, and I've had that for decades. And I think the pandemic has made it worse for me. So I have no plans on performing, and I think that's okay for right now. But I'm being very creative at the same time, so that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so much in the studio, like 2 Bruce Lee band records in the past year or so. The song with Catbite, the Mike Park Catbite song, and now this split. So yeah, it's awesome to see how much you've been doing.
Plus, I've been ghostwriting for other bands too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you share who, or would that ruin the ghost element of ghostwriting?
I can't. I've been doing that for years though. I do it for a lot of artists in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written 2 full albums for bands in Japan.
Whoa!
And so I just take the money.
Nice. Well, you know, off the record, just, you know, slip me a hint of who it might be, because I not on the show, you know, but I'd love to hear whatever you've been writing.
Okay.
Yeah, so just you know, while we're talking about shows and stuff, I went to the Jer Kill Lincoln tour, and like that, I guess that was like my first ska show post pandemic, and it was just like so fucking fun. Like I was like, wow, like there's like, because it's wild how this whole scene kind of popped off like when there weren't shows, right? And like there were even like, I saw like snarky people on Twitter, like we were like, ska's back, and people were like, how could ska be back? It's a pandemic, you know? And it's like, well, I don't know, it is. And then like you finally just got to see like that release, and it was like, wow, this is like some of the most fun stuff you can really see. And it was just, yeah, I can't wait to finally see a real Catbite show. I know that there are some chances coming up.
Yeah, you should come. Well, yeah, you already know. I'm like, wait, I don't even have to be fucking slick with you. You know,
we got some stuff in the works.
Yeah.
Jesus. But also, like, I mean, tour with Streetlight Manifesto, that's super exciting. Shows with Anti-Flag, like, I mean, hopefully, you know, just we'll get to the whole Wavebreaker concept in a bit, but you know, hopefully, like touring with Streetlight will kind of, you know, show some of those people who are on Twitter like, hey, is the fourth wave here? You know, like maybe they'll get to see like a newer band. And
no,
how did you get those Streetlight shows?
So I guess through Rick Johnson from Ex Mustard Plug. I guess he's like the reason. I don't know. One day he texted me and was like, "Hey, this is Rick." I said, "Who's Rick?" And then he's like, "Rick Johnson from Mustard Plug." I'm like, "Do I know you?" Because we had played shows at Mustard Plug, and I'm like, "Oh, like the original guy, yeah, that guy." And then he's like, "So I'm at TM Streetlight, and they're looking for bands for some of these shows." This was back.
That was me.
Year. It was
I'm
you.
the one. I'm the one.
Man,
Thomas called me and asked me who to bring on tour. I said, "This band Catbite, you should bring on tour."
Shit.
No way.
All right. Well, then fucking Rick Johnson's taking all this credit.
But Rick's involved. Rick did all the legwork. Rick's great. We're a team. Rick and I.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike.
I love that team. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. It was so funny because, like, then, like, I never heard anything more from Rick. And then, like, 4 weeks later, I got a text message from a random number. And I was at work. And I look at it and it says, "Hi, Tim. Sorry to text you out of the blue. My name is Thomas from the band Streetlight Manifesto. I really like your band. Do you want to play shows with us?" And I was just like, "What the fuck?" I don't know. I literally just thought like someone was fucking with us. And like I researched the number and it was like, Bay Area, which I guess that's where Thomas lives. Yeah, and it turns out it was him.
30 minutes from me.
Okay, cool. With his cats.
He's so cool.
He always sends me pictures of his cats, and it's great. I love it. They're really cool looking.
For Thomas to say he likes your band is the hugest compliment because Thomas likes nothing.
Yeah.
Except for his cats.
He likes, I'm talking strictly music.
Yeah.
Bands. He doesn't like any band. So for him to like Catbite is monstrous.
Yeah, that's... it's so weird. It was so weird. And like the shows, so we did 3 shows with them in December in Philly, DC, and New Jersey, and all 3 of them were like sold out before we even got added to the bill, and we were the only band on the bill, and the crowd was super responsive. Like I really had no idea what to think.
Well, they kind of warmed up to us. Each show I remember like seeing lots of people kind of just like watching us and like figuring out like what was going on. And by the end of our set, people were very excited. But I don't know, that was kind of a cool feeling, like having to win over a crowd.
Yeah, because also like we were added after it was already sold out, so like none of our fans could have the opportunity to buy tickets. So like we were just like, hopefully maybe some Streetlight fans had heard of us already.
A lot of them hadn't.
But yeah, it was like lots and lots of people, and like sold a bunch of merch and like just had people just talking to us for like, and like we still get like messages and stuff online like, "Hey, we first saw you at this opening for Streetlight," and it's like I really didn't expect that with like
why weren't you able to play that last run they did where they did 8 shows in a row?
The California West Coast run. So because we just got off tour with Jeff Rosenstock, and basically half of that entire tour we just hit with Jeff in June. So we wouldn't have been able. It was like we would have hit Denver, Salt Lake, Portland, Seattle, and like one other city, which is literally half their tour, and they didn't want us. Streetlight's agent didn't want us to do the exact same market like 3 weeks afterwards.
Oh, so that was Streetlight's end, not yours.
Yeah, like so we said we would totally do it, but like it was just radius clause bullshit. Yeah, because we really wanted to, because then we were actually, so what we did was we were gonna do that and then book. Oh wait, that was California. Yeah. So
we had plans to like, we were gonna leave the van or leave all the gear
in Salt Lake City. We're gonna
fly home, have someone drive the van
to start that tour with Streetlight.
Right.
But yeah, it just didn't. Their agent just didn't want it to happen because we were literally just there. Yeah, which sucks because we're like never gonna. We've had like 3 different opportunities to go to the West Coast or to go to California this year.
You can't say never. We're going to.
Oh, we will.
Get there, but
yeah, it's just funny. Like every single time we have something that's like, oh, sick, we're gonna do it, and then no California.
You like that I've taken this over, Andrew?
Oh yeah, I'm like, this is great. Like I don't even need to do anything. So Tim, Britt, like were Streetlight, Catch-22, like those like big bands for you growing up? Like is that
not really actually?
No? Yeah,
our drummer Chris, he's like born and raised in Philly. And so he was a very big fan of Catch-22 and Streetlight growing up. Like he was really big on a lot of the Jersey ska bands and like that whole, and like obviously the Philly ska bands and stuff. I went to a Streetlight show with like maybe 15 years ago or something like that, and I had heat exhaustion when I went, and like because I'd worked all day like outside in like 100-degree wet heat, and then like I went to Streetlight show, and it was like the worst experience of my life because I like was like on the verge of passing out. So that was like,
that's terrible.
Yeah, that was pretty much my only experience with Streetlight until more recently, which like I've seen them a couple times before we got asked to play with them, and like I've always liked them. It was just never something I grew up listening to at all. I just kind of when I first got into ska, I was just very much into like traditional and two-tone and stuff. And like, I've only in the past maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years, like really started to dive into like a lot more of the third wave and more ska punky stuff and like Streetlight and, you know, all those.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So Mike, so it was you who sort of tipped off Streetlight about Catbite. We know you're always been a huge supporter. It makes so much sense you're doing the split together. So this whole Wavebreaker concept, right? It started recently with Less Than Jake and Kill Lincoln, and like as the sort of tongue-in-cheek name implies, it's like let's sort of get rid of the whole idea of like ska comes in waves, and like also like not just that it comes and goes, but also like the fan bases, like, you know, like it helps to introduce older fans to younger bands, and then maybe people who are finding ska through, I don't know, Catbite or Ska 2 Network or something can be like, hey, like there's also active older bands, like, and so it seems like a very cool mutually beneficial thing. So Mike, Tim, Britt, tell us, like, how did this split kind of come together?
It's pretty easy. It was just Mike from Bad Time Records asking if you want to do a split, and I said okay.
Yeah.
And then did you say to him like it's got to be with Catbite, or
no? He asked if I wanted to do it with Catbite.
Oh, okay.
I said,
Yeah. I think he already knew that like that it would be such a perfect combination. Like Mike S is a fucking genius, and
He's very smart.
He gets what's up, and like he knows that like, you know, us and Mike Parker, best friends that never met.
Right, you did. Sorry, go on.
No, yeah, it's just like I don't know, it's just a very great fit. Like we look up to Mike so much, and yeah, yeah, it's cool.
And you already what was it, 2020, right? Where Britt, you sang on Mike's song, the quicksand one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already some history there. Mike, tell us about Catbite. Why are they so great to you?
I was, you know, obviously Asian Man Records, I think we get pigeonholed as a ska label, which is, I think because I do so much ska personally, but out of the 370 releases we've put out, I've only put out like 60 ska records.
Wow.
I haven't heard something that really caught my attention until an employee played Catbite, and I was like, who the heck's this? And we just listened to the record at work while we were doing mail order. I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've heard like in decades. And that was it. I don't know I don't know if I reached out to them. I think in any interview I've done in the last like 4 years, I've talked about Catbite.
I think we saw it. We were just like, I forget, I was reading an article or an interview you did. Interview. And I just like was scrolling through, like reading it. And then you said something about like your favorite new band or new ska band. And it was Catbite. And I just like dropped my phone. I was like, and just like sent it to the group chat. And then like a day or two later, you were doing an Instagram live, and me and Britt were like laying in bed about to go to sleep, and we're like, oh
yeah, we saw you went live, and we're like, should we go?
Should we click on it and look? And then we did, and then you're like, Catbite, come live with me. And we're like literally like it was like 1 a.m. and we're like lying in bed about to go to sleep. We're like, ah! And then we did, and we talked to you about our day.
We talked about rent in Philly.
Yeah, because it was like at the beginning of the pandemic, and and that's and here we are now.
First official meeting.
Yeah,
I remember that. Those are the good old days.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the early pandemic days.
The early days, yeah, for sure.
So Mike, so you kind of first linked up with Bad Time Records when you did the Ska Against Racism split in 2020. Just for anyone who doesn't know, can you just kind of talk a little bit about how you kind of got introduced to Bad Time Records and how like you ended up forming this relationship with the label?
Yeah, Mike, he just started sending me records. And it's a smart thing because it caught my attention. I was like, the art was really good. I think it was the Shape of Ska Punk to Come, the first volume. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, well, this is this refused ripoff art is really cool, and it's like, what is this label? I hadn't heard any of the bands, and he just kept sending me records. And then Adam from Link 80, he had a new band, Omnigon, and so I know Adam for years, and he was on, and then I just kind of kept my eye on. Well, I always try to keep my eye on what's happening, just in not just ska, but any kind of underground music. And I felt like Mike was doing some really cool stuff. Very impressed by just like the community aspect of it, and how he and the bands, all the bands involved with Bad Time, just kind of push for each other. It's like if there's no competition, it's like, let's root for each other, and that's the best. That's what I've always pushed for with Asian Man, and so I saw that coming from Mike, and then I've been a fan ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Mike, I feel like the sort of DIY ethics that you have helped bring to people with Asian Man Records, I feel like that's been a huge blueprint for stuff like Bad Time, and like so inspirational to so many of us, probably to Tim, Britt.
Yeah. Sure. No, it's like when Mike Szynski first hit me up, like we'd started Catbite, and then like we put out what, like 3 little demos, and 2 of them are covers or whatever. And I've been friends with Mike Szynski forever, and we were like, as a band, we're like, what should we do with this band? Like, should we record an EP? I don't know. We were just like talking. We weren't really trying to be anything like real. And then Mike Szynski hit me up like in a Facebook message and was like, hey man, I saw you're starting a ska band. I'm thinking of starting this label. And then basically just like went on saying like, I want to form it. Like, I want to build this around like the Asian Man Records mentality, like the DIY, like the community. And like, that's what like instantly made me be like, yo, let's fucking do it. Like, cause like when I've released music with other labels and stuff, like in other years of other bands and stuff, there was no sense of community. It was just like, they're going to pay for it to get pressed, and then they're going to give you some and you sell it. And like, there's no hyping each other up, just none of that. And I just remember like, when I was first like kind of getting into punk rock and like, just getting like seeing stuff on Punk News, and it was like, oh, another Asian Man release. Oh, this rules. Oh, this band Joyce Manor. Oh, this fucking rules. Like just one after the other, and like seeing these bands tour with each other, and like just I don't know, it just like had that cool special thing for me, and that's like what got us with Bad Time Records, and it's been exactly like that. So
yeah, totally. No, I mean the Bad Time community is like super inspiring, and it's just been so awesome to see like all the cheerleading and gassing up and everything.
I think it also helps that Mike Szynski is such a sweet person, very genuine person. So it was like easy for us to be like, absolutely, we want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Like we trust him, which is cool. Yeah. He's never trying to like, there's never is ever trying to like screw us over in any way. It's like always in our best interest, and it's like the label's best interest, but also the label is like everyone, like we're doing everything for everyone's best interest. It's like never is there any sort of like, trying to do something to rip someone else off. It's just great, and it just makes us really like what we're doing and like continue to want to do it. And like, even though it's like a lot of work and, we're getting burnt out, it's just like, it just, I don't know, there's just not that like negative competition aspect to it. It's just kind of keeping us pushing forward and stuff, and knowing that like Mike has our back, and like our, label mates have our back, and not even just, just like this sense of community that they've built, even if it's like not specifically Bad Time.
And that's the thing with Bad Time, the respect of I had from Mike. I would have gone after Catbite if they weren't on Bad Time. But I felt like I really wanted to. I was like, man, I should contact this band and see if they want to work with me. But then I'm like, I can't steal this band from another label.
Damn.
It's cool to know.
Yeah, it's cool to know that you want us.
Because, I mean, it's happened to me. Just look down the Asian Man roster, and it was like, Side One Dummy took every band I had. I think they just go down my roster. Epitaph too. Epitaph's taken so much stuff.
Yeah,
it's fine. I'm like, that's fine. And the bands are really open. Like, hey, we'll still do it with you. Like Rosenstock was supposed to, his first Side One record that was on Asian Man, And he asked me, he's like, what do I do? I said, go with them. Try something different. Go out. You need to shake it up and see what happens. Same with the last Dan Andriano record with Epitaph. That was on Asian Man. I paid for everything. And then he sent it to Mr. Brett, and he like called within 5 minutes, said, I want to put this out. And I said, yeah, go do it.
Damn.
And now Dan's like, man, I should have done it with you. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh man,
you live and you learn.
Live and you learn. No, I mean that's kind of like we've also kind of had that like same relationship with Mike Szynski, where he's always saying like I'll obviously want to keep you guys, but like and we just have like a very open relationship where we tell him, I'm like like this label like has reached out to us or like this, and I'll tell him, and it's like we'll just have honest conversations, and he's obviously looking for our best interests, and it's great. But because we like him so much, we're still there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of sick just how like Bad Time itself is starting to become like one of the labels that like, one, you see a Bad Time release, you're gonna listen to it, and two, like the name is like it's like yeah, like it's exciting to go to a bigger label, but it's also exciting to like stay at a smaller label and grow it like a family. And that's how Asian Man became like an amazing label for 25 something years. Like,
yeah, totally.
It's like, yeah. Tim, Mike, since you're kind of, you mentioned Epitaph and stuff, Tim, you mentioned Joyce Manor. Mike, would you talk a little bit about like, did you have conversations with that band about like when they kind of left Asian Man?
Yeah, I talked them into doing it with Epitaph. Epitaph wanted them, and they're looking at the roster. Joyce Manor is very in touch with like their imagery, how they want to be perceived, and they just felt like the Epitaph roster was pretty whack, especially at that time. And they were like, "Man, I don't think we're going to do it." And I was like, "You got to do it. Mm-hmm. This is your opportunity to, make some money, make a living at this." And they listened to me, and they did the record. Like we have like AJJ, formerly Andrew Jackson Jihad. Right now, their labels are going after them, and I'm just trying to. Yeah, I don't think it's been announced yet, so I can't tell the story. I was about to, but yeah, it's just like I try to get the artists to succeed. If that means them leaving, heck yeah. It's only happened a few times where I was really sad an artist left, but I've maintained that friendship. I look at other labels and bands when they leave, it's just like this big, I feel like they feel so dissed, like, oh, how can you leave? Our friendship is over. And I view that totally opposite. I feel like, I'm sad to see you leave, but I'm rooting for you. I want you to do well, and I hope we can remain friends. And that's 99% of the time has always been the case. Mm-hmm. There's a few bad apples out there, but for the most part, I try to really maintain a friendship over business.
That's awesome.
Love that.
So, so let's talk a little bit about, again, so the split, it's the second split in Bad Times Wavebreaker series. And because Mike named it that, we're just going to have to talk about that name every time there's a new one. Yeah. So talk to me from your perspective, just about the concept, right, of like sort of tearing down these boundaries between different quote unquote waves of ska.
Who you want me to go first? I'll go first.
You go first,
yeah,
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think a lot of the old heads, especially fan-wise, I mean, if you're listening to skinhead reggae, you're not listening to Bad Time Records, and that's just the fact of reality. There's going to be folks who don't listen, and because the music is different. If you're listening to, like, Jackie Matu, and then you put on, like, Omnigon, there's no similarities. It's a totally different sound, and so I get it. Do they owe somebody, that the listener I'm talking about, do they owe somebody to give that band, a ska punk band, a chance? I don't think so. It's their prerogative. They're listening to skinhead reggae, and so I don't think it's going to change in that way. But then you have a ton of people. I think the majority have an open palette where they're listening to everything, listening to Trojan Records, Two Tone, ska punk. But there's also kids who only listen to ska punk. If you're a leftover crack fan, and someone plays you like something from Studio One,
yeah,
you're like, oh, what's this? This isn't anarchist punk or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense. How it depends also your age. You know, if you're a younger kid, you're going to be more. You're going to gravitate towards more of the heavy stuff where there's a mosh pit and stuff. But I would love for bands to be able to play together. Like when I saw We Are the Union playing with the Slackers, I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to go over.
Yeah.
But what I heard was it went over great. So that made me feel amazing. I was texting with Brent, the drummer, and I was like, man, I don't know. Good luck. But he said it was awesome. So
yeah,
that's really cool to hear. I don't know if I answered your question also.
No, yeah, totally.
I kind of thought the same thing when I saw that We Are the Union and the Slackers were playing together, which is it's weird because like I was like I shouldn't think that way, but I just automatically do because of the idea of like the different waves of ska. But I think mostly it's just the fact of I hope for people to be able to, I guess, not gatekeep as much. Like don't say one thing isn't ska just because it doesn't sound like the type of ska that you like to listen to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's man, I forget what the question was now.
I was just asking, like, sort of your perspective on this concept of like tearing down the boundaries between like different waves, different generations.
Yeah. No, I like just what you're saying.
Yeah, it's all music, and everyone likes what kind of music they like to listen to, and it can all be under the umbrella. But I think a lot of like Mike was saying, the old heads, they just like stick to their like this is my ska music, and they don't want to accept any other form as ska music, which to me is silly. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm like a reformed ska head person. like I was mentioning earlier, like I really like when I was in 10th grade and I joined my first band. I joined it in 12th grade, but I got into ska in like 10th grade, and I kind of just went directly to bands like Slackers and Westbound Train and the Agrolites, and then really into like, you know, Studio One and Trojan and stuff, and a little bit of Two Tone. But like I really like turned my nose up at like a lot of the ska punk stuff, because like my band was like a trad ska band, and I don't know, it just, that's kind of what I was, all the people, my best friends were in my band, and we were just kind of like, we play like real ska like this, you know, and like without really giving it a chance to like a lot of the like diversity that's in like the third wave ska punk, whatever you want to fucking call it, that's not trad or two tone. But then like when I finally quit that band and then started Catbite, I mean, I kind of intended for Catbite to kind of be like a two-tone trad type thing, but then we just kind of, I don't know, just like with all of our members, we just kind of started bringing in all of our other influences, and it kind of turned into this more power poppy, punky, whatever. And we just kind of got looped in with a lot of these like ska punky bands, and that I'd been avoiding for like all of these years. And I'm like, this is so much fucking fun. These people are having so much fun. Whereas like, it wasn't like a, you know, a pissing match. I'm like, who can be the most trad, who can sound like fucking Ken Booth the most? It's like, and yeah, I think Bad Time Records did that to me in this community. And now it's
we
like,
still really enjoy and like to write music like that.
Yeah. But now it's like all of a sudden the Suicide Machines are one of my favorite bands of all time. And it's like, I had not listened to them until maybe 3 years ago, ever. Maybe, I mean, I heard the fucking, what's the, No Girl, but like, I didn't even know, New Girl, but like, I didn't even realize what that was. But yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of this community is just kind of, you realize how stoked people are on the genre and how like varied it can be. Like you meet, punk kids, you meet like people that dress up in suits and stuff, and like when you go to a ska punk, or I don't know, you just go to a show like that. I don't know where I was going with this. I was going somewhere. I was doing good, and then I lost it. But yeah, waves are dumb. Ska's great.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
I think it would be awesome if Mike did sign like a rock steady band just to give it a different flavor.
Yeah. I've been talking to him about doing that. I was like, you should do that. Just fuck with people.
It is cool that there is a lot of sort of diversity on that Shape of Ska Punk to Come Volume 2 from like last, I think, December.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think there was like one sort of trad ska song on that, but then he also had that like the weird like laptop hyper pop ska stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's just, I feel like even like it's cool because like you kind of know you're like, there are going to be some people who get like a little pissed off, but right. They're like, oh, like where auto-tune shouldn't be in my ska, like, and so it's kind of fun to fuck with people like that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you learn something, I mean, that's like, that's what happened to me, like my introduction was ska punk. And then like, you're just like, oh, well, like that prefix ska, like that actually is much older than punk. And it dates back to this thing. And you learn about that and it's interesting. And like, I don't know that I would be listening to like Desmond Decker if I wasn't first listening to Less Than Jake,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a cool thing.
Totally.
And things have gotten better, way better over the last few decades. It was really bad. Like if you looked at the ska scene, especially on the coast where it was big in the 80s and the early 90s, it was violent. It's so much better now. Just the joy in people's faces that go to these shows versus worrying if you're going to get your ass kicked. The skinhead violence in the 80s, early 90s was horrible on the West Coast. And so all this change, the progress that the ska scene has made has been wonderful. So I don't miss that. I mean, my heart is always with trad ska and two-tone, even though I felt like I was in a band that like is probably one of the bands to blame for the way ska is perceived in 2022. But I grew up. I was a mod in the early 80s, so this is my life. But man, it was not fun, man. I'm telling you, you would just see violence erupt with skinheads at early shows.
So insane. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how it went from that to like, again, like I said, that Jared Kill Lincoln tour was some of the most like wholesome, like uplifting vibes I've ever seen on a show. Like there was no possible room for violence. Like it was like it was to whatever the opposite of violence was that show. Like it was
that's sick.
Yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, I feel like Catbite and Mike Park, such a great sort of combination because you do both have those shared two-tone and trad vibes, and yet it works with the ska punk stuff. Like I mean, to me, like Catbite's not a ska punk band. Mike, your songs on the new split with them are not ska punk songs, but like it feels current, it feels modern. Like it's. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about the actual songs. So, Mike, you've got one on there with Karina from Dancehall Crashers, which is awesome. It's great to hear her voice on a new ska song again. Tell me about working with her on that song.
We've known each other since we were teenagers, just being in the Bay Area. So I've always wanted to do stuff with her musically. I've asked her in the past, and it's never worked out. So I just hit her up in hopes that she would sing on this, and she said, yeah. It was easy as that. Sent over the files, mixed it in. It was done. It was great.
That's so cool.
That's sick.
Yeah, she's talented. She's a professional singer.
She's awesome.
It shows, and it's cool. Just because of our history together, just the many years of playing shows together, 3 decades ago, which is crazy to think of. And, both of us still doing music in our 50s now. It's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You got to tell her to get Dancehall Crashers to reunite. I mean, that'd be...
Yeah, she would do it. It's the other girl, Elise, who's the problem.
Well, never say never.
She got the power.
Who's gonna do a Wavebreaker with Dancehall Crashers?
Yeah, right. That would be a good one.
Let's get I'll do some emails. I kind of but
I just want to real quick. How much time do we have? I know you guys had somewhere to be.
Yeah, I got about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, that probably
cool?
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Tim, Britt, on your half, you have an original song and a Neon Trees cover.
Yeah.
Why the Neon Trees song? What brought that one about?
So I really like that song.
I think didn't we just hear it?
Well,
didn't we were like driving somewhere and we were listening
came
to like
on,
a playlist on Spotify.
No, I think either I was with you or I was at work and it came on and I was just like, this is such a good fucking pop song. It's so catchy and like I just like it just came on and I just instantly heard it as like the version we did.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just I don't know. And then like we were like driving back from Jersey that one time and we just put it on repeat and we're just like, it was like after a show and we were all like hype about, music or something. And I was like literally just like taking notes. All right, this section, like it's going to go like that. And then blah, 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 like put some, chorus on the guitar solo. I don't know. It just, for some reason, it really excited me when I heard, cause like that song was everywhere for like 2-3 years, like 10 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't escape that song and everyone hated it, but like I feel like a lot of people really liked it because it's a really good song. And I don't know, maybe I just kind of figured people would kind of be stoked to hear us do a version of that.
I love a good pop song.
Yeah, because I mean, we like to write pop songs, but that's where that came from.
Nice. Well, it's cool. I mean, you make it sound like a Catbite song. I mean,
Thanks.
Yeah. It's cool. It's awesome. So I want to ask, at this point, I mean, I literally got sent 2 mozzarella stick memes 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So at this point, what is most misunderstood about ska?
They don't know the history. The people who badmouth it, they just don't know about the history. They don't know about like Byron Lee. They don't know about the immigrants in Jamaica the Chinese immigrants playing ska and reggae. They have no idea. It's just they just think of it as they think of it as Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, and
then being
Glitter,
the butt of a joke. That's yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with those bands. The Aquabats, let's throw them in too. They're just having fun.
Right.
That's why it's progressed to a point where we don't have to worry about getting stabbed at a show. All we have to worry about is like getting confetti stuck on our shoes after the show. Yeah. It's that. It's all the guys, music snobs who don't know about ska, who think it's strictly Hawaiian shirts and silliness. And they don't even know really about two-tone. I mean, two-tone was so political. The whole emphasis on two-tone is a political movement. So it's crazy to think that people have this interpretation of what ska is. But the big picture, more people like ska than don't. And even like the hipsters. I mean, John Darnielle just did that In Defense of Ska podcast. It's amazing. Ted Leo, all these like hip indie rockers, they all love ska.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever I meet somebody who like is sure that they don't like ska, like it's only a matter of time before I can like name a ska song they like.
Yeah.
Like it's like I don't like ska, just a couple No Doubt and Rancid songs, and I guess that one Less Than Jake song.
Exactly. Yeah, especially when you hit him with a good Rancid song. Like everyone fucking loves Time Bomb. Everyone.
I've never met someone who doesn't like Time Bomb.
Exactly. And it's like, and then like, even if you're talking to people that are not like punk rock at all, you show them like anything that's trad or like, it's silly. It's just a total misunderstanding. And the fact that it got a bad rep, no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to dig into it. Which, I mean, it seems like that's kind of turning around, which is cool. I like some of my coworkers that love to do ska jokes at me. Like I'm the designated ska dude at work, but like even they've been slowing down lately. It's great. So yeah, they'll hear like something come on and it's like literally the opposite of ska, but it has like a horn. I'm like, ska. I'm like,
yeah. The thing is the equation of ska and horns doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
No.
It's like I remember Rocket from the Crypt people like when in the 90s, like, oh yeah, they're a ska band. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They have no idea. Like, so Chicago is ska band,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, is Bruce
Come on.
Springsteen a ska band? Like,
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
so I kind of have to ask, similar note. I assume we probably all saw Scott Twitter had strong reaction to a recent AltPress article titled "How the Interrupters Are Championing the New Wave of Ska." What is your take on that whole thing?
I didn't read anything. I don't know anything about it.
Well,
I didn't read it.
I didn't even see it.
Oh yeah, I mean it was they're on the cover of Alternative Press. It's the Interrupters with their new record.
Yeah.
I didn't read it, but I skimmed through and I just thought the journalism behind it was pretty lazy. Personally, I like the Interrupters a lot, and I've worked for them, and I've gotten to know all of them really well, and they're really great people, and they know their shit. They're not like, I think there's just a lot of ignorant like comments that I see all the time about them, like like they're a like, you know, a industry plant band.
It's jealousy. It's jealousy.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah, exactly. And I know they've put in their fucking work. They know their shit. Like the first time I ever met them, I was playing in a punk band and we opened for them, and they were backstage. Like the twins and Kevin were like all gathered around a piano, like playing like a Ken Booth song. And I'm like, this was like 8 years ago or something. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like they're not like it's misunderstanding and hearing things and spreading rumors and jealousy. Yeah, but the actual article, I think it was pretty, you know, it's just Alternative Press, like, you know, wanted to use the buzzword, the wave word. And I don't think that was probably the best thing to get a good reaction. It's just kind of going to plant that idea that there's waves and a fourth wave into more people.
They just want people to read their fucking thing, so they're going to say what's going to bring people's attention.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't read the whole thing yet. It's just like
I didn't even know it existed, so I'm excited to read it. But
yeah.
My 2 cents on the Interrupters is they're the best band doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They can play reggae so good. It's insane.
Yeah.
Their feel for trad ska, it's not hard. I mean, I love ska punk. Ska punk's way easier to play than traditional ska. You can play traditional ska bad.
Yeah.
You can play it well.
Yeah.
That's a whole different story. You have to have such feel. The feel that band has is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sick. And I'm stoked because they don't have horns. I like the imagery of 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just looks like a rock band. That's the best case scenario for ska is the Interrupters because it's not, and they just look cool.
Yeah. They do.
They look cool.
They've got great stage presence. The harmonies are perfect. Yeah.
Their songs, man, they're so catchy. Just hit after hit. It's like, damn. You know, I feel like I'm a good songwriter, but then I'll listen to them. I'm like, gosh darn, man. The hooks are insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, and they have like some straight up trad ska on that new record. Like there's that song with Hepcat and then that song with the Skins, and it's like total 60s Jamaica. And it's like, I basically agree. I mean, I like saw them last year. Such a tight live band. I think I get why it must sting to see that headline, like they're championing the new wave, and then people who are also part of the new wave being like, what about me, AltPress? Like, I definitely like, or not even me, but like, what about this great other band? Like, I can see how it stings, but yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, the Interrupters are a rad band, and like, doesn't need to be taken out on them.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And like, just the fact that a band that massive has the word ska tagged to them, it's like only gonna do good things for the scene. Like way more people are gonna see that word ska and think of them instead of these bands, the quote goofy bands that got their time in the 90s, that like, you know, that's like what people thought, you know, oh, ska, you know, Really Big Fish, Aquabats, whatever. But this being like a new face, it like, I'm fine with that because like it's giving ska less goofy, it's just changing the image of it. And if people just seeing that, I feel like a good amount of people are just going to start diving into current ska bands. And like, like I always see people saying, oh, they don't support the scene, but they're
massive. They're at another level.
Yeah, they're not at the point where they're like, can do these local ska shows. Like they're trying to,
they're playing stadiums.
Yeah, they're playing fucking stadiums. And like, I think that's helping the scene. Like I don't see them hurting the scene at all. I think, it's just
best case scenario is that they bring out bands like a Catbite.
Yeah,
if they if they do a headline tour, a national headline tour, and they bring out bands like Catbite, just like what Green Day did when they broke. They brought everybody out.
Yeah.
They brought, Pansy Division out. They brought the Riverdales out. They brought Mr. T Experience. They brought all of their peers out and let them share in their success. So it would be awesome if the Interrupters did the same.
They did it to the Skints. I mean, that's like, and I feel like the Skints is probably one of the closest bands to that level that's like not technically ska, but like a Jamaican influence band.
Yeah, and those kids, I know those kids very well. They're all ska fans.
Yeah.
They came from that scene in England, but that would be a sick build. Interrupters, Skints, Catbite, national tour, doing like 2,000 cap rooms. Be sick.
That would be so cool.
I would go.
I would go.
I would go.
Yeah, I would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I really hope that, that they're just the rising tide that helps lift all ships, right? I mean, like, it's like you said, like, it's cool that there's a popular band with the word ska attached to them. I mean, and, did they have some bigger label money? Did they do stadium tours at Green Day? Sure. Like, that's, like, think back to your youth. Like, Mike, you're talking about Green Day, right? Green Day were a humongous gateway for me. Like, if not for Green Day, like, I might have never heard Pansy Division. I might not have, like, devoured the Lookout Records catalog or something. So I just think, like, like when I was a kid, like Less Than Jake was a major label ska punk band, and they probably reached me faster because, Capitol Records.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm hoping that they, reach some kids who don't know what ska is, and they're like, this band rules. And I mean, I remember, like, I know I'm digressing a bit here, but I like literally remember going into FYE in my mall and like looking for punk CDs and not finding them in the rock section, and the person bringing me to a section called punk/ska.
Yeah.
And just being like a light bulb went off my head. I was like, I guess the music I like is called punk/ska.
Yeah.
And like, and just like going to that section all the time. And I've told that story a lot. So like, sorry if it's, but I hope that, people find out that word from the Interrupters and then look for Bad Time Records and Catbite and Wavebreaker splits and all that cool stuff.
Totally.
Sweet. So, before we go, is there anything else that any of you want to add or shout out?
I want to shout out Mike for writing the other song on the Wavebreaker for us, Spiral. Mike wrote that.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
I was going to mention that earlier, and then we started. That's a whole. It's a whole thing. But it's a really good song. And Mike gave that. He just sent us he's like, I have a song, and I was like, what? I want you to do it, and I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. And so he sent us like an acoustic recording of Spiral. And we
put the end of the recording on the song.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Mike?
What?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. It was so funny. The end of your recording.
Yeah, you're like,
just like, I think you just stopped and you're like something like that.
Yeah, and we put a cool like reverb echo on it. It's super cool. You'll have to listen to it.
I've heard the song. Maybe I didn't get that version. Oh god.
It's at the end, like at the very end.
You're gonna like it.
Yeah, but
I love that.
But yeah, it was like honestly a fucking honor, and it was really fun to just like get because usually like me and Brett are the ones doing the bare bone like skeleton of a song and bringing it to the band, and like to have this skeleton given to us, like the four of us just like sat down one day at practice and just like started fucking with it, and it was like cool for all four of us to come at a song with like just hearing it and learning it and then just going to town on it. And
I love it too from a songwriter's perspective. I love giving someone a skeleton and going, put your touch on it, and then hearing what comes out. Yeah. So any bands out there who need songs, I'll write them for you.
Yeah,
right. Mike Ghost writes. That's
I don't want you to be Ghost. I want you to be not Ghost. I want people to know like you wrote that, and it's such a great song, and it was really fun to Catbiteify it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's very cool. Yeah, I just want to say closing. I'm really excited about all the new bands like Catbite and Bad Operation and Bad Time Records. That's why I wanted to, even though, financially it doesn't make sense. Why am I putting this out on a different label and not taking the money? It's because I just want to be part of this community too. I want to be part of the Bad Time community, and now I am.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That's right.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Tim, Britt, Mike. It was a real pleasure chatting with everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you too.
Hey, thanks again to Mike Park and Catbite. Thanks for listening, and go pick up the Brooklyn Vegan exclusive electric blue vinyl variant of their new split. Stay tuned for our next episode, and see you next time.